So, first of all, thank you very much for joining us here today. It's a great pleasure to have you. I thought that it's always nice to have a short presentation of each of you. So, Anna, would you like to start by telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure, and I think that's only fair given that we've been the mysterious people in the back of the room this morning. My name is Anna Gran. I work for Johnson & Johnson, specifically our Innovation Center, so I'm part of Johnson & Johnson Innovation. Not going to share that much more about it. I assume I will be given a chance to reverse pitch. I have a background in biomedical research, so I'm also a scientist by heart. I've also worked with launching and also leading the launch of a couple of cancer drugs in the Nordics for Janssen, our pharmaceuticals business. And today I work with business development and specifically partnering on early stage. So mainly before, if you think pharma, then proper clinical proof of concept. Thank you.
Thank you. Ralf?
Yes, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for inviting me and us, Bayer. So very happy about that. Myself, I am by education, I am a physician, worked as such for around 10 years. And then have a career in the industry for around 20 years. I've been various local, regional, and global positions. And in my present role in Bayer, I'm the medical director for Denmark, Norway, and Iceland. Yes.
Thank you very much. Åsa.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and my colleague Kai here as well today. My name is Åsa Sjöholm-Timén, and I work for the late-stage transaction team at AstraZeneca. And I have a background with a PhD in organic chemistry and started my career in the pharmaceutical industry with discovery research, but soon moved into business development. And I worked both for AstraZeneca and some smaller companies as well.
Thank you very much, Åsa. So, when looking at partnering from a broad perspective, I mean, all pharma companies, they have internal R&D, but sometimes you need to reach out and to get inspired and get injections from external innovation as well. How important is this for Johnson & Johnson, for example?
Well, I would like to say very important. I'll get to that in a moment, but I would also like to say that we're definitely an R&D company. We're not a business development company. We certainly have a long legacy in internal R&D as well as medicines that we are still developing and bringing new medicines to market that stem from our internal labs. However, if you look at, for example, our company, and I'm sure it's matched by other companies, over 2/3 of, I would say specifically the pharma sector projects have an external origin at some point in time. So that's why I'm saying it is very important. And also if you look, I think I saw some statistics some years ago that 80% of all innovation stems from SMEs and academia, but then 80% of the drugs that are launched are actually launched by big companies. So somewhere along the way, there is a transfer. And so the answer to the question is it's natural, it's part of the business, and it's certainly very important for us because we like to work with innovation regardless of whether it comes from our labs or somewhere else.
Ralf, from Bayer's perspective, has the outlook or the desire to enter partnerships, has it changed in any way during the last, you said you have been in this business for 20 years. Have you been in Bayer for 20 years, or is it?
No.
Okay, so can you tell me something about Bayer's outlook on external innovation?
First of all, it's extremely important for us as a life science company, the aspect of innovation. I mean, Bayer started with the first production of aspirin in 1899. In 1899, and you can still go out there and buy the drug of today. If you look at when Bayer started, around 150 years ago in the 1860s, what was the life expectancy at that time? It was around 40 years. What is it today? For somebody like me or us, around 80 years. That's what I call innovation. And that cannot happen without all these steps that all of us, companies, whatever, have been through. So yes, it's important, and it's important only for us internally. No, it's not. It's important also to reach out and seek collaborations, seek innovation together with partnerships, licensing agreements, whatever. And that we in Bayer are very active within, and I'll come a bit back to that in my presentation later on. So yes, it's extremely important for us because in today's world, the complexity, the various methods, the various opportunities, you cannot be there all by yourself and invent everything yourself. Yeah.
Åsa, being back, I was going to say back at the crime scene, but AstraZeneca, what's your view on external partnerships?
So that is really important to AstraZeneca, and although we do have extensive internal capabilities all the way from discovery until commercialization, we want to access the best science. And we don't have monopoly on the best science, even though we have large resources internally. So yes, it's definitely very important to our business and to our success.
And as you've all seen now in the earlier session of today, there are a lot of great ideas around and many interesting projects. But what is it that specifically makes a project attractive to a big pharma company? Who wants to start?
I can start. Yeah. First of all, there has to be a medical need. And the second one for us, it's not to be a me too concept, product, whatever. And then it can be whatever it is. It can be chemical compounds, it can be digital technology, it can be behavior science, all that is relevant and important for our products, the drugs, the use of them, the effect of them, and the well-being of people and relatives affected by the diseases that we treat. Elements there that can improve this are important for us.
Åsa?
Yeah, so I would essentially agree with everything you say, and I would also like to add to that we have looked back on our internal portfolio over a number of years and tried to identify what really does make a difference and to make a product that is making a true difference to the patients. And we have identified basically what we call the 5 R's. So we would say that we are looking for a product that has got the right target, it reaches the right tissue, it's got the right safety profile, and it's treating the right patients that we are looking to treat. And in the end, of course, it needs to have the right commercial case as well, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to continue with the next wave of drug development efforts. So those are the criteria that all our internal programs are being measured on, but also those opportunities that comes to us that we look at.
I think what's been said already is that the science always comes first, right? And it needs to be big leaps and not just small steps forward. And I think in addition, for us, it makes less of a difference whether it's patented. It needs to be patentable. So it needs to be truly novel, and also there needs to be already around that patent, or together then exploring, there needs to be a conclusion that there is a space to actually build a business around. And then I think because we have a more of a collaborative model where most of our projects at the innovation centers are co-development projects, so we like to work with a strong team. So we also look at the capabilities. If we like the science, can we also work with the people, and do we need to add to that team? And is it a team that we can kind of work with that will still own the project and take it forward?
Mm. And a few expressions that we hear a lot when it comes to, Ralf, you mentioned Me Too projects or Me Too products. I mean, when you're investing, when you decide to invest in a science project, what's more important, that it's first in class, or could it also be that it's best in class? What would you say, Åsa?
So I would say that I think what I just recently mentioned before, it's really the need of the patients, the need with, or the fit with our company, and then that evaluation that we do along the way that is important. So we see if there is a benefit, no matter if it's first in class or best in class, and if we see that it actually meets that need that's out there among the patients, then I wouldn't distinguish either or for all indications or all treatments, but it's really done that assessment on a case-by-case basis.
Mm. And is it not true though that there are areas that sort of gain the spotlight and become more interesting and more hot? For example, I mean, obviously because of scientific breakthroughs, like with immuno-oncology, for example. But
I can comment on that. I mean, of course, we Bayer as a company, we have some focus areas, and of course, an area I think for every pharma today. I mean, oncology is really an area where a lot is happening today, and the technologies are fascinating and create miracles sometimes, but there are also big risks and big failures. So yes, there is some kind of focus and key interest, but things may pop up which could be interesting and are disruptive or whatever. And again, I'm not in business development. I'm in the medical part of the organization, but I, of course, by experience and through my work, see where the need is also. And that also, you can say, reinforces sometimes, wow, this is really something that could make a difference for the patient, his family, or the human population in general. I mean, and these compounds have been invented, and they will also come in the future.
I think you can kind of stir the soup a little bit more and say, yes, there's first in class and best in class, and then there's a whole new class. Like, for example, when the biologics came out, or gene therapy, or cell therapy, or other kind of modalities that are novel. And yes, there's an advantage to be a first mover. I think it's commonly known that the first 6 months after launch are crucial to commercial success of a drug. It's kind of a magic time where you can either kind of rise up or really not ever be able to catch up. But then at the same time, there's the risk of if you're truly bringing something that's a big leap and that's not just another kind of target, but another type of therapy, then you have to sort out the business model in your first in class, completely new class type of treatment, and regulatory hurdles and all of that. So that is a risk. But again, the rewards could be certainly worth it. And for us as well, it matters less. I think, we're happy to see both as long as the science and the potential is great.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that, again, AstraZeneca is really looking at novel and great science. And so we believe that innovation is really what drives growth, and that is the backbone of what we do.
So you also mentioned risk, and when balancing risk and value, I mean, is there a preference among you guys about when it comes to early development stage or late stage partnership, so to speak, in the product development phases?
Well, the innovation centers as such, and Johnson & Johnson Innovation, where I belong, invest in projects that are prior to a proper clinical proof of concept. Maybe for another company that's already early, for scientists certainly that could already be a kind of a late stage for if you're a bench scientist. I think it depends on what you invest in and what the business case is, right? If certainly if you have early science that's truly exciting and it's a sound project and you find 10 or 20 of those, it costs less to check out with a few really good killer experiments if it's actually going to work or not to the next stage than investing your whole kind of pot of money in one clinical trial for one drug in later stage. So balancing that out, I think, is really important. But certainly for us at the Innovation Center, we also want to access the best science, and we believe that going in early, we can go in earlier as more transformative the science is, it's certainly part of our strategy.
I'm amazed how fast time flies, first of all. So I'll just add, from each and one of you, if there's a specific trend that you're watching extra closely right now, what would that be? If we start with you, Ralf. What are you most... You mentioned...
What an easy question, yes. But there are many trends. I think there are two. One of them is the whole area of digitalization that happens in the world today. We are watching that very closely. We're working around it. We have innovation centers. We have initiatives around it. And that is important. It is here to stay, and it will come even more. How the future looks, nobody of us knows, but it has an impact on the development of the drugs, on the use of the drugs, and also the whole environment around treatment of major or minor disease and therapy areas. So I think that is important. And the other one is, I mean, what is innovation? You know, innovation, but you should actually say, what does innovation do for me, you know? What does it actually mean to me? What is good innovation? I think the big difference between previous and now and the future is that previously innovation, it was, from a pharma perspective, it was treatment, you know, some kind of treatment, a pill or whatever, injection. I think today in the future, it's actually cure. Looking at the gene technologies, CRISPR-Cas technology or fusions or whatever, I mean, things are coming up that almost cure diseases or completely eliminate tumors. I think that is to look out and watch out for. Where are the breakthroughs coming there? So if I should mention two, that would be two at least from my perspective where I sit. And again, I'm not in business development, but that's where I would look.
Well, I fully agree. I was actually going to also mention cure and prevention because we're in a very good place right now. I think we're looking at really good response rates in many cancer trials. In the industry in general, you're able to, you know, prevent or cure cancer that couldn't be treated before, or at least was just barely maintained, right? And you know, HIV, for example, there are vaccines in trials and certainly good antivirals as well in the market. So we're moving into a situation where we're maybe looking at treating healthier people instead of the really sick people. We haven't really been able to get to a point where we at J&J call it intercepting disease. Already when you may not feel symptoms or you may not even know that you're sick, because today you wouldn't be picked up as a sick person. So that certainly is a trend that, you know, that we're working on, that we're certainly like to see continue as well and succeed for sure.
Yeah, and I think from being a very traditional small molecule company, we've moved into biologics and also looking at other alternative modalities. But we are, of course, as you are, looking into the digital health. But precision medicine in general, I know that's a term that's been around now for quite some time. But when you do look into that more in detail, we're talking diagnostics, different types of assessment of more targeted treatments and so forth, and various support technologies and so forth that can increase the output of therapy and so forth.
So with just 1 minute left, if you were to summarize in one word the future outlook of partnering in the Nordics, what would you say? I'm looking for stuff like hopeful and, yeah, tremendous.
I'd probably say excellent science, and I'm hopeful to see tremendous successes in actually bringing that to patients and people.
Very well put. Should we consider that she took you off the hook there?
Yeah, because that was way many more than one word.
It was, yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry.
No,
Exactly.
I didn't listen to you very well, I think.
That was great. So time for this panel session is out. Now we're going to have the pleasure to actually hear you talk more in detail about what you and your respective companies are doing within partnering activities. So we're going to ask Åsa to stay on stage, and Ralf and Anna, you can join us a little bit later. Thank you very much for now.